So hi guys out there in Facebook land. We are at Keller Williams Neighborhood Realty in the Junction in Toronto. Thank you all for joining us out there. We are all here. We've got Dylan Provencher and Jason Friesen here to kickstart the fall market for you guys out there and all of you guys out here in here. So I'm going to let the guys do a little bit of an intro for themselves. Jason is with Premier Mortgages. He's a totally amazing mortgage broker, and he always has a wealth of knowledge to share with you. And Dylan virtually needs no introduction. He's just our star. So Jay, why don't you come up here and we'll have a quick chat, and I'll leave you guys the floor.
Sounds awesome.
As Irene said, I'm Jason Friesen. I've worked with Irene for a few years. Here to basically answer any questions. I know that when I come here, there's always kind of one-off questions that come up with what you're dealing with. Things have definitely changed a lot in the last couple of months, last couple of years, but the last couple of months things have got progressively worse for everyone. Just, financing has become a bigger issue. We're seeing appraisals come in light more often than not actually now. And borrowers that previously qualified and had no problem, getting financing are now kind of being made to jump through hoops. So any questions you have, just let me know.
Awesome.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is it now? Can we ask them now?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
With self-employed people, it's getting harder and harder.
If you're self-employed and you claim like what your net income is high enough to income program where they look at the gross, those have definitely tightened up and they're a little bit more challenging. We're finding that a lot of those clients that were able to squeak in with the banks previously are now being forced to look at like the second tier lenders. So you may have heard of like Home Trust or Equitable Trust, those B lenders if you want to call them that. So they're being subject to higher rates. Often a lot of times a larger down payment's required as well. And there's also fees when you do those types of mortgages. Usually there's like a 1% fee that you pay that, if you're a conventional mortgage with a bank or with a mortgage company, you don't pay those fees. So we're definitely seeing that happen more and more often. The other problem with those lenders, the big issue that I've come across with those lenders, the appraisers that they use tend to be more conservative, simply from the point of view that they're really lending on the strength of the property and not as much on the borrower, so they really want to make sure they're doing the due diligence. So that is, on top of being required to put more down payment down, you may also have to make up the difference if you paid, say, $1 million and an appraisal at $900,000, for example.
In cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To what extent has the actual appraisal process changed? Are the number of desk appraisals versus people actually being sent out? Is that still roughly the same? Is the desk appraisal still working in the same?
Like with lenders, how they do like their automated appraisal system?
Yeah. So
we're not getting hit on those very often anymore. And usually for a refinance, you can almost expect 99% of the time that you're going to have an appraiser actually go to the property. So.
And for usually like in the last few years, a lot of appraisals just happen as desk appraisals.
Yeah.
Do you find that lending institutions are sending people more often to actually view the property?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. We're not getting those like hits in the system that they used to get with like those automated desktop appraisals.
Right.
So more often than not, an appraisal is required. If you're putting down a significant amount and you're below $1 million, like 35% or more, occasionally those will get waived. But if you're over $1 million, usually banks automatically want an appraisal anyways, regardless of the amount of down payment you're putting in.
Okay.
Have you had any deals with farms before?
I have a lender that does financing on farms, so if you do have something, just shoot me an email.
Okay.
I don't get into it. It's not my area of expertise, so I have someone that I would basically source that out to, and I've done a few in the last year where the client's been pretty happy with it as well. So is it active farming, do you know, or is it a hobby farm? Or?
It's active farming. It's
okay.
My brother was looking at a farm in Niagara on the Lake.
Okay.
So we're just sort of in the counter offer, and
okay.
I just want to get more information on what's involved.
I have actually a rep with Scotiabank that has done a couple of them for us. So yeah, and they're pretty competitive on rates as well.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Are the 3 to 5 business days for finance conditions still adequate if there's like banks get the appraisals out in time within that period of time that they usually give for finance conditions?
What I would usually do anyways is like if you had a client that was thinking about bidding on a place, I'd ask you to send me the listing before you put the offering, so we can do some due diligence up front just to make sure that they're not going to be far out on value. Usually the appraisers that we work with are pretty bang on, so if they we send them a listing before the client makes the offer, and it's for $1 million the client's willing to pay. If they tell us it's worth $1 million, 99% of the time the appraisal will come back at that amount. So I think it makes sense just to make sure that you're kind of
Okay,
contacting your mortgage
before
person
going into
before.
bidding or making an offer, you desk appraise it through you.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Sounds good.
You just want to put yourself and your clients in the best position, right? So,
Right. Okay, thank you.
hey.
Great info. My name is Dylan Provencher. I'm from Keller Williams Advantage. My brother and I have a real estate team here in the city of Toronto. And about a year ago, my brother, because he's just so cruel, made a bet that I could stop selling houses by the end of the year completely. And I joined this group inside one of the mastermind groups I'm in, and we all committed to pledge a certain amount of our income for any trades that we would do this year. So I am at officially 0 houses sold this year. My team has sold, I think, about 57. But we're now in the business of helping agents become successful and not so much actually trading ourselves. So I've been asked to come here today to talk to you a little bit about the market. I'm so glad you're here too, man. That was incredible info you just gave, and I'm sure you'll be able to contribute a lot in the stuff coming up. I really want this to be sort of just an open forum discussion. There's a lot of incredibly intelligent people in this room, and I think that the best way that we can all learn is if we all participate together. So the first thing I'd like to touch on is just sort of what's been going on in the market this year. Does anyone feel like there's been some sort of slight shift that's occurred? Can we get a raise of hands? I definitely feel that way. Awesome. Who thinks it's over? Who thinks that it's going to go back to business as usual? Raise your hand. Awesome. 2, 3, 4. Awesome. Okay. Who thinks middle? Okay. And who's on the other side? Who thinks that it's going to continue to trend downwards? This man right here. Okay. Anyone else? Sure. Okay. Cool. So going to trend downwards. Perfect. Well, awesome. Does anyone else have any thoughts about what's going on? Or do you think that it was because of what the government did that this happened? Or do you think that it just, I don't really feel like it is either. Does anyone feel the opposite of that it was?
I think it was the optics and how the media picked it up that did the greater damage than what the actual government.
I'm liking more and more what this guy is saying. This guy's super clever, guys. Listen to what he says. So, anyone else have anything to add to that? Does anyone feel that the government was successful in what they were trying to do?
I think the government was successful in perception.
Yeah.
And making it look like they were doing something when really they weren't. But the fact that they did something skewed people's ideas about what was happening,
Yeah.
what had happened, what was going to happen. You combine that with an increase in spring inventory, and we felt what we felt. I think it's going to be another month or so of things not falling to the floor.
Okay.
Before buyers go, oh, okay, well, this is just like it was in 2008. Nothing happened. And
Right.
we're just going to keep going normal. Nobody wants 20 or 30%.
Nobody. No, it's horrible across the board, period. Julie?
One of the big things that happened right around the same time as the government announcement, and I think the government announcement did make it seem that they're getting very, involved, and maybe that's a little bit of a police state, you know what I mean? Like they are putting in a lot more rules and it's not as much fun. But the other thing is supply went through the moon and, the first 3 months of the year, supply was super low. It was tight. We
Totally.
were getting offers on everything.
Everything.
It's not a house to be found or condo or anything. And then everybody heard about the prices, and then anybody who ever thought that they would sell in the next few years was like,
Absolutely. And you know what's funny? We're a phone-based team, my team. I shouldn't say that. We're a lead-generating team that focuses mostly on the phones. And you should have heard the calls at my office. Oh my God, it's like the lottery. Cash out now, it's incredible. And everyone's saying, I just need another month, 1 or 2 more months. And then, boom, they all showed up at the same time. And then everything sort of, and it's funny because the foreign investor thing was sort of weird, right? Because, I've heard mixed numbers, but like between 3 and 5, can we all agree on that? That's what the percentage is. So it should never have had this material effect.
Votes when you go after foreign investors as well, right?
You're absolutely right, kind of a faceless person, so, yeah.
plus 15%, no offense to foreign buyers, our dollar was so low, and, and the cost around the world, they have so much more money in a lot of places that I think that is...
Julie, that is so intelligent. This is why I was hoping that you guys would speak up. Can you go ahead?
There was another thing that I caught wind of, and I don't know how accurate it is, and maybe at least have to. China had enforced if you take money out, you had to disclose it. And they had a soft ruling that it was January 1st, so anybody's taking more than $10,000 out, the banks had to disclose it. Well, it wasn't really happening, and then they put a hard rule in for July 1st. I happened to have this in a very predominant area where the Chinese were coming in,
Right.
and that market just went like that. And it wasn't so much, it sort of hit the same time as that 15, as the foreign investment, but it was, now they had to report the money was coming out, and a lot of the money is, I'm not sure if I've got this expression, but Canada's used to launder money.
Yeah.
And we're called something frost or something snow or something, the market is referred to as.
I wish you knew that word. That sounds really awesome.
It's frost or snow, but they launder their, like there's a lot of really old money in
Come
China.
over there, buddy. You're
And
awesome.
it's being laundered through Canada, and it's being laundered through investment, through real estate, and, or just money in general.
There always seem to be the haves and have-nots, though, taking money out of China. Like if you were, you know, upper class, it was a lot easier to get money out. Because we had clients in the past who would basically, we had one who had like several deposits in their bank account. We asked where it came from, and their family had like strangers depositing money
Because
into
it's more than
yeah.
10,000, after it was more than 10,000, the bank had to report it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I was told.
But there's lots of rules to get around the whole.
There have always been financial controls
Yeah.
in place.
Yeah.
But it's, I was
And
just
there are
unaware of
ways
it,
to get
it was
around it.
hitting at the same time, and that was another thing.
Snow washing.
Snow washing.
Snow washing.
That's what
That
it
is
was.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
Canada.
foreign buyers can be American, and they
Yeah.
can be from Europe too, you
Yeah.
know, and they can be from Iran, and they can be from other places, like the foreign buyer thing is.
I think it was easiest
Right.
to pick on
So
the
do I,
Chinese buyers.
so do I think,
Yeah.
I think that's a little
Yeah.
generalized.
Well,
In
and
Toronto.
but I also think that that's because they're always comparing us to Vancouver, and I think it
That's
is a
right.
lot more true what that sort of whole school of speaking.
Yeah.
So how does this all affect us now? What happens?
We have to get better at what we do.
Okay, so specifically how? What do you mean?
You have to remember your skills, or if you are new to the business, learn the skills rather than just showing up.
Yeah. I'm going to show you guys a quick little video here. I'm actually going to show you the first. Does everyone watch these, the market reports?
Mm-hmm.
These are really awesome. If you don't watch them, you'd be shocked. I teach these classes all the time. People are like, what?
Never watched it.
All right, so we're just going to watch the first few seconds of 3 of them.
With June in the books, we are now halfway through 2017 and have left the traditional spring market behind us.
This is June.
However, this past spring was anything but normal. We have seen a market very much in flux since April, when the Ontario government announced the Fair Housing Plan.
We've been in flux.
With this as our backdrop, let's take a closer look at Trev MLS statistics for June. Greater Toronto Area Realtors reported 7th.
Could someone pull out a calculator? Maybe you, sir? Could you do 12,725 minus 7,974?
47.51.
Okay, and now we're going to do the next one. Oops.
It's very dramatic.
Hello
Totally.
again, my name is Jason Mercer, the Toronto Real Estate Board's Director of Market Analysis. We're through the first full month of summer and are certainly still experiencing the shift in market conditions that began in the springtime. With this in mind, let's take a closer look at Trev's residential statistics for July. Greater Toronto Area Realtors reported 5,900.
4,008.
Okay. We're actually going to watch the rest of this one and then the rest of the August one as well.
8,700
Already. So we're just going to finish this. You'll see where I'm going once we're done the next 2
through
videos.
Trev's MLS system in July 2017. This result was down by 40.4% on a year-over-year basis, led by the detached market segment, both in the City of Toronto and the surrounding regions. Condominium apartment sales in the City of Toronto experienced the smallest drop compared to July 2016, but they were still down by approximately 28%. While sales are down, the number of new listings reported were only slightly above last year's level, up by about 5%. This suggests that following an initial surge of listings in the spring, homeowners who may have been considering the sale of their home have taken a wait-and-see attitude. Active listings at the end of July were up strongly to more than 18,750 compared to approximately 11,300 active listings a year earlier. Thinking about the reasons reasons underlying the dip in home sales and volatility in listings, a recent release from the Ontario government confirmed TREB's own research, which found that foreign buyers represented a small proportion of overall buying activity in the GTA. Clearly, this suggests that the year-over-year decline we experienced in July and throughout the spring had more to do with psychology, with would-be home buyers on the sidelines waiting to see how market conditions evolve. With this in mind, summer market statistics are often not the best indicators of housing market conditions. We generally see an uptick in activity following Labor Day as a greater cross-section of would-be buyers and sellers start to consider listing and or purchasing a home. As we move through the fall, we should start to get a better sense of the impacts of the Fair Housing Plan and higher borrowing costs. So we've talked about trends in sales and listings. Let's now turn to price. After all, it's the interplay between demand and supply that underpins the pace of price growth.
I'm going to move us over to August.
The MLS Home Price Index composite benchmark price was up by 18% on a year-over-year basis in July. However, the composite benchmark was down by 4.
And he's got a beard this time. Yeah, he's got back from the cottage.
Hello, my name is Jason.
Right?
Director of Market Analysis. Well, summer is not a
Crack a beer with that guy.
From August into September is certainly a milestone every year in the real estate market when we move from the slower summer months into what is hopefully a pickup in activity in September and October.
Please, God.
Let's have a look at how the market fared last month. Greater Toronto Area Realtors reported 6,357.
Okay, let's finish the math and then we'll watch the rest of the video.
Just under 4,400.
Cool. Do we have a total from those three?
So 11,700, just under 12,000.
Just under 12,000. Okay, cool. Let's finish the video.
Sales through TREB's MLS system in August 2017. This result is down by 34.8% compared to August 2016. While the number of transactions is down for all major market segments, the extent of the year-over-year dips correlated with price point. Detached home sales were down the most compared to 2016 by 41.6%, whereas condominium apartment sales declined by a lesser annual rate of 28%. Consumer polling undertaken for TREB by Ipsos in May suggested that we were starting to see a shift in consumer preferences towards less expensive home types in response to the strong price growth experienced in 2016 and the first quarter of 2017. This is particularly in relation to detached homes and condominium apartments. The number of new listings entered into TREB's MLS system at 11,523 was down by 6.7% year-over-year and was at the lowest level for August since 2010. After an initial spike in listings following the announcement of the province's Fair Housing Plan, the number of new listings have moved back below last year's levels. It's important to remember that generally speaking, there is no economic catalyst like a recession prompting people to list their home for sale right now. So as many buyers have moved to the sidelines, new listings have also edged lower. Recent reports suggest that economic conditions remain strong in the GTA. Positive economic news, coupled with the slower pace of price growth we are now experiencing, could prompt an improvement in the demand for ownership housing, over and above the regular seasonal bump as we move through the fall. So we've talked about demand and supply indicators for August. Let's now turn to price. The average selling price for all home types combined was $732,292, up by 3% compared to August 2016.
How reasonable.
This growth was driven by the semi-detached, townhouse, and condominium apartment market segments that continue to experience high, single-digit, or even double-digit year-over-year average price increases. The MLS Home Price Index composite benchmark, which accounts for typical home types throughout TREB's market area, was up by 14.3% year-over-year in August. The fact that the MLS HPI growth outstripped average price growth points to fewer high-end home sales this year compared to last. The relationship between sales and listings in the marketplace today suggests a balanced market. If current conditions are sustained over the coming months, we would expect to see year-over-year price growth normalize slightly above the rate of inflation. However, if some would-be buyers move from the sidelines back into the marketplace, an acceleration in price growth could result if listings remain at current levels. What we see in the fall could give us a better sense as to which of these scenarios may unfold. With that, I thank you very much for your time and look forward to speaking with you again in a month's time.
Isn't that a beard?
I hope he still has the beard. Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Yep.
I think that last little bit was really, really important. So 3% growth over a year ago. Everybody hears what the media says about, price drops from January. Well, January through March was not normal. So for the sellers who are still in January through March prices, you have to say, okay, let's look at last August, July, August, September, and let's price according to that, as opposed to this January, February, March.
To further your point, it's so true, because if you saw things, everything was going along like this, then the new year hit, there was this massive spike, this huge spike, and then all of a sudden, well, do we want to agree, second week of April sort of thing? All of a sudden, it goes back down like this. But if you look, this line is still flat. Like everything was still fine, So it's a really important thing to help your clients understand that they're not losing money. They're potentially selling at a moment that still makes a lot of sense.
And for buyers, that's also really important because if they're walking around saying, well, the market's down, you can say, well, no, actually, it's up from last year. And if you wait more, you're not going to lose 30%, but you'll lose 3 to 5% of your budget.
There's a great objection handler where, do you mind if we role play for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Irene, how much is your house worth?
No, less than it was at the beginning of the
Well,
year.
don't worry about that. Just what's the number? $1 million, let's call it?
I don't know. Kind of hoping for 1.2.
1.2, perfect. And what did you buy it for?
Why does that matter? It's what I get for it now.
No, I know, but it's exciting, right? What did you buy it for?
Oh, what was it?
7. So wow, so that means you made $500,000 in how many years? 4. Wow, so $125,000 a year. That's incredible. Let me ask you, how much of that money are you willing to lose?
Why would I want to lose any of it?
I agree. We need to get your house priced correctly now, because otherwise it's in free fall. I don't want to lose any of it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So what else do you guys think? Any other thoughts on that? All right, we'll jump to my math then. Just under 12,000 trades missing? They've literally readjusted the expectation of how many trades are going to occur this year. It's massive. What was the trade number last year? It was like 120 or 115? 118, 100, somewhere in the low teens and the hundreds. We've literally lost potentially 10% of the trades. So does it?
Well, in 3 months.
In 3 months. So we have no clue how many it could add up to. The point is that I'm trying to make is, has anyone here read the Shift book? It's a really good time to dust it off if you haven't. Yeah. Have you you haven't?
I think I have it, but I know I haven't read it.
It's phenomenal. You really should read it.
Well, and you know what? I think even the ones that read it kind of went, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
To decide.
Not us. Not in Canada. Not us.
And now it is us.
Yeah. One of the things that they talk about a lot in the Shift book, and I really want to get across to you guys, is that let's say that you're an agent that has 10% market share. And in that market, there's 100 trades total, which means that your 10% equals 10 deals. So then all of a sudden a shift occurs, and it goes down to 50 trades. So we've literally lost half the market, all of a sudden just falls out. Remind you of what's going on here? For sure. But all of a sudden you just decide, forget it. There's no chance that I'm allowing my dollar to go down. I'm going to continue trading at the same level I was trading. I have to. I have expenses. I'm willing to do what it takes. I have grit. I'm going forward. You maintain your 10% or your 10 deals. That actually equals a 20% market share. Now during the shift, what happens? Do realtors stay in the business longer? Do they quit faster? What usually goes on? Yeah, the bottom falls out quick. I would expect that we will see a large shift in the number of agents that are registered on the Trev board. Yeah, which is awesome, obviously. So then all of a sudden, it goes back up to the 100 trades that's typical. So the shift goes the other way and it swings back. You're still at 20% market share. You've literally taken territory just by maintaining. So although these are arduous months and it's a bit of a pain having it be so much more difficult all the time, the fact is that the unique opportunity that we have here today in this shift, and it's been, I don't even know that many agents who remember the last shift. So it's been a long time since we had this opportunity. When we were talking earlier about whether we think it's going to go back up or whether we think it's going to go back down, My true answer to that is I don't care at all. In fact, I kind of hope it stays shifted. But it doesn't matter whatsoever because one thing's going to happen or the other. And the fact is that if you have the grit and you have the tenacity and you're willing to do what it takes to stay on par with your business and not let yourself slide and say, oh, I'm a victim of the business, it doesn't make any sense. If you manage to do that and you manage to maintain, it's clear that through a shift you can take territory that's basically free because it remains with you. And then the great thing about this too, guys, is that as we're having all of these crappy agents fall out and we're staying here, we're keeping the lights on and we are keeping working, people all of a sudden are realizing that they do need powerful, great agents who are doing phenomenal work. So, when it was 4 months ago and they're like, what do I even need you for? We're going to put a sign on the lawn, everything's going to blow up, I'm going to be a bazillionaire, and I'll give you nothing. But now, all of a sudden, they're seeing that it's time for us to sharpen our pencils and actually do the work that we came for. So when people see you doing that through a shift and they see you successfully doing business, it just makes tons of sense that you're going to have your unfair share at the end of it. So what are some of the... Go ahead, Julie.
I'll just say that when it did shift last time, which was 2008.
Oh, but that was like for a month or so.
Well, it was about 8 months. It started in June.
Okay.
And by the next April, like you could see it happening.
Okay.
By September with Lehman Brothers, all that.
Right.
April for sure, Easter it was back. So September to Easter for sure in Toronto. It turned so fast that people missed it. Like there's all of our buyers were bought in November, December, January when the world was falling and prices were down.
Yep.
And nobody else is buying and they're idiots to buy. They made so much money in 6 months because 4 months later it corrected.
Right back.
2 or 3 months later they were in profit.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Everyone's seen this, the thing Gary draws all the time, and the pendulum. Has everyone seen this? Basically, you never know where you are along the line. We were here for a long time. Now it's pretty clear that we're here. However, when a shift occurs, it's like a pendulum. It goes very, very slowly up to the top, but then by the time you notice it, it's really clipping quickly. So the fact is, the thing that I actually wanted to come here and tell you nice people today was, in my opinion, the thing that I think we need to do the most is have prospect 3 times as hard as we used to for the last 2 months. And if you haven't started already, start today. Because we might not have that much time to take this territory. And if we're able to, doubling down on prospecting efforts and making sure that you maintain your market share or increase it during the shift, we just don't have that much time. So we need to be fanatical about getting out there and getting our unfair share of this because we might not get another opportunity. I mean, 2008, what was it before then? I wasn't trading, that's for sure. It was like 99.
96 is changed.
So guys, we're talking about an opportunity in early 90s, let's call it, 2008 for a blip, and now. So this is this incredible moment that we have to seize the opportunity to really take what is rightfully ours and fight for it. So that if you take one thing away from today, that is truly it. 12,000 missing trades. Let's get out there and get what's ours.
Amen.
So, bad news. I blew through all my material in half an hour. We have an hour. So, what we're going to need to do now is mastermind on ways we could get our unfair share until you guys dwindle out quietly. So, do you have anything to add to that? I enjoyed everything you said earlier.
I find the same in my business as well. I think that you'll start to see the pretenders start to fall off, which I think is good for business because you have these people that are part-time and not fully invested in the way that they should be out there, giving misinformation to clients. And I think if you're an expert and continue to be an expert in your field, that it's going to make it look a lot better now. It's not, March when you hammered a for sale sign in the ground and sold the house and you could be anyone and you're hiring your best friend who just got into the real estate game 2 months ago. Now you really need an expert because you can see the 2 houses side by side listed and one will sell in a couple of days and one will sit and they could be identical homes, right? So I think as things shift, people will want to go for an expert more. I think that's the reality on both sides of our business. But you're absolutely right. We're doing twice as much work for to get a client in the door. And you'll find for a while there will be people that are willing to undercut on commission and things like that. It's just the reality until those people are desperate right now. People that are were hanging on by a shoestring before we had a correction in the market. There will be some desperate times and you may lose some business from it. But I think at the end of the day, those people are going to get out. If you make it about price, it's obviously not a great long-term strategy.
Yeah, the race to the bottom is a quick one.
So I think you may lose a couple clients because someone's willing to give back half their commission or buy down a rate in my in my field, by more than you're making on your commission, but I think that will sort itself out quickly. Those people are, kind of running on fumes right now, and we're going to have to realize they're going to be looking back into the workforce sooner than later. So
Yeah.
I think the reality is, as long as you focus on what you need to do and you continue to prospect, you can only control what you can control. You can't control what's happening in the market, but you can control, what you're doing to try to continue to have business coming to keep the lights on.
Totally.
So, easier said than done, right? All you gotta do is prospect and regenerate.
And maintain.
Easy
And
to get down on yourself as well, right?
No, that's an easy statement.
Yeah.
So now you're not selling, you're managing the agents that you
Yep.
need to be selling.
Yeah, I'm a sales manager.
Right, so, it's easy. Everybody's
Contact your,
prospect more.
but the thing is, you have like this low-hanging fruit by just even reaching out to your existing database, which so many people don't do. You send an email out quarterly.
Do you mind me sliding in on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
It's what Julie said. I think that is the most brilliant thing that's come out of anyone's mouth today. The fact is that the people who made the most money were those guys who bought in that little blip. So I mean, and to further your point, if you have a network, you'd be insane, and frankly, you are being a bad agent to your clients if you're not reaching out to them and asking if they want to invest in this momentary episode.
You can't predict the future, but you can talk about what happened in 2008 and show, what kind of money people made, right? You can only go on past data. So if you show them, okay, this is what happened last time there was a drop in the market.
And in Vancouver, just recently.
Yeah, like the writing's really on the wall. Do you know what the problem's going to be, though, is it's the pendulum again, right? The way that everything was going great, so great, 30%, 30%, 30%, 30%, what?
Yeah.
It's going to be the same thing with the buyers, because everyone's going to show up at the same time. And the difference in skills that will make you the person that actually comes out of this with that extra market share, especially on the buy side, is that if you're able to relay that message correctly, that this is the opportunist moment right now. And because everyone's going to get it right eventually, right? Like as people start getting good deals on houses, it's going to be easier and easier to sell. So really, it's kind of first to the finish in this scenario.
I like that other graph you did. With the whole, for sellers,
For sellers, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So this is like, because all the sellers are like, I'm going to wait until it comes back, until the market comes back.
Comes back to what? You're still where you were.
Exactly.
Yeah, this was fake. This was all garbage. Like, you're right. You did make a huge mistake. You should have sold here.
Right.
Obviously, so simple. But that's gone now.
That's right. But when people are, people have to sell for a million different reasons right now. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there who have a lot of reasons to sell. And I was speaking to somebody today. They've lived in the house for 50 years. Do they need to wait till next year? No.
No.
Parents have to go into an old age home and they have to do this stuff.
I think just to further that too, I think that so many times us as realtors, have you guys ever heard the nasty fruit joke? Basically, I'll get to it in a second, but there's so many times that we all think that all sellers want one thing, big dollar sign. And to further your point, Julie, you're so right. And the fact is that what we're searching for when we're prospecting is motivated individuals, not people who would sell or could sell, people who have motivation to sell. And I see it all the time with the sales team. They'll be like, oh, I don't want to throw away this lead. I've talked to him a lot and I've got all these great notes on him. And I read the notes and I'm like, this guy's not moving, period. Like, this is the definition of garbage. Get him out of here.
He's lonely and at home.
He's lonely. Yeah, he just wants to chit chat with a realtor and you're a nice guy. Obviously, he loves talking to you. And to compare it to something, guys, imagine that you're at the grocery store, okay? And I've been by with my 9-month-old kid and he's managed to grab a plum and he's wung it at the floor. And then I stepped on it because I was trying to pick it up, but I missed. But then I put it back in the plum things. I don't know what else to do. There's no garbage can in a grocery store. So it's sitting there. And you come by and you want a plum, so you pick it up and you look at it and you think, oh man, this plum is pretty messed up, but you know what? I'm going to make it better. No! No one does that ever. You put the plum back and you go get another plum. Like, there's a sea of plums out there. It's insanity. Yet we do it every day in our business. We get so worked up. You know what I mean?
Best analogy ever.
I'm going to make you better, plum. Oh, you're not. The plum sucks. Get a new plum.
This is all sort of come back to my circle because
Sure.
I think we all we're all like looking at that plum because like
I do with sales agents.
You do, absolutely.
I do. Look,
So
I'm going to make you better.
For the agents in our sphere and for the ones that are agents to do just that, like just go and find more people. Stop trying to motivate the people you're working with. Just what's that?
More plums.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you that the math is really simple, right? It's It's basically, in the last 3 months, it looks like there's been about 40 to, what percentage would you say has dropped off? About 40%, can we call it that?
Yeah.
So what would just, I mean, it's always so simple, right, guys? Like, the answer is right in front of our face. How much more prospecting do you think we need to do to bridge that gap?
40% more.
I think the math, is that how the math, I think it's basically double your prospecting. If you just do twice as much, you will maintain the same amount, period. But I mean, if I were going for low-hanging fruit personally, sorry, Rick, go ahead.
But for the agents, it's not a whole lot more work. It's just a different focus of their work. We were all out there in, 8 bidding wars before we got a deal for our clients.
Yeah.
How much time does that take to find them a house, go through the whole exercise?
That's a phenomenal point.
Lose it, start all over again. So you do that 6 or 8 times. So now, instead of doing that, now you can find a house and negotiate a deal on it.
Quick.
Do it once, maybe
Yep.
twice. And take the time you were spending on all those wasted bidding wars and lead gen.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and guys, I wish I had some sexy silver bullet to give you, but it truly just is as simple as that, period.
Yeah, it's just a different focus on
Yeah.
the time you're spending in the business.
I mean, even on my team, our minimum lead generation standards is 10 hours a week. Does anyone know what a full-time job consists of as far as hours go?
40.
Yeah, 40. So what would 10 be? It's a quarter-time job. Like,
I think
and
it's
our team's
shown
wildly
a lot of
successful.
projects,
Like,
though, right?
pardon me?
They've had, we've had a great run. People have been in the industry for, say, 5 years or 7 years, and things have been all uphill.
Those guys are at the
Yeah.
most danger, by the way.
But then you've got someone like Irene that still knocks on doors and continues to grow our business, and has been in the business a long time and has an established. So I think that a lot of people are afraid to get out and get their hands dirty and do those types of things. Right?
Everyone is. It sucks.
And they don't know how to do it, effectively as well.
Yeah.
So
I can tell you, like, I've done an incredible amount of cold calling, an incredible amount of door knocking, and I am not one of these guys who will tell you that I love it. I hate it. Hate it. Like, don't stutter. It's unpleasant. No one naturally wakes up in the morning, makes a nice breakfast, drinks a cup of coffee, kisses their wife, and goes and bugs people at their door. Like, that just doesn't occur naturally. It's not a natural thing, but it's like pouring jet fuel on your business. So the way I see it, I wanted to succeed more than I wanted to not door knock. To answer another question, though, I really do believe that if I were talking about low-hanging fruit and where I would start, if I was a brand new agent, first day in the business today, I was thinking everything was going to be great. I actually had a couple listings I thought I was going to get, and then it fell off and I had nothing going on. The first thing I'd do would be call my sphere and figure out who wants to invest and take advantage of this. I think you nailed it. So for me, I think that's kind of the lowest hanging fruit. Do you guys mind if we take a couple minutes and we all sort of kick forward our best idea what we think the best thing to do right now is? I'd love to hear from some of you guys. Or where you've been focusing your prospecting efforts since you already doubled?
Well, we're just doubling up on our door knock.
So more.
More. I've been talking to do more for the last year.
Awesome.
Okay. It's math.
Yeah.
If you talk to more people, you will find more people who are motivated.
Nice plums. Totally.
One of the things that isn't interest rates moving, so isn't that another reason to get your buyers motivated?
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Start buying,
Yeah.
because rates started to move this week.
Yeah. So they actually moved in July and again in yesterday. And we
Yeah.
had prime increase by basically 0.5% in 60 days. And we could potentially see another 75 basis points in the next 12 months.
Wow.
So why not?
What does
why
that
not?
mean to somebody?
So right
Monthly.
now, so on a $600,000 mortgage, the last 2 increases of prime represent about $150 a month increase of payments. But you're talking about
That's
a lot
a
of
$600,000.
Let's-
25-year amortization. But you're also talking about people that, there's a lot of people that are over leveraged, younger people that got into the market and put, 5 or 10% of the minimum down. That $150 a month is a lot of money, and you double that.
600 is a really low price point
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Can we
But
dumb
that's
it
on a
down?
variable
Wait a
right
minute.
now, right?
Wait a
That's
minute.
on a variable. And also think about lines of credit, they also went up as well, right? A $100,000 line of credit is about $45 a month more now than you were paying in June.
Can we just dumb it down to like
Realtor level.
$100,000 for 100,000 for each 100,000? Like they used to be talking $100,000 would cost you $450,
Yeah,
$475.
so it's
per month.
$25.
So now you're saying you're looking for each 100,000 is costing you between $475 and $500 per
It's
month.
about $450, yeah.
Oh, we're still.
$450,
No.
$470.
He's saying you probably were at 425 before.
Okay.
Basically,
consider
on
that.
for 100,000, we're using a 25-year amortization. It's about $25 a month that your payments are increasing.
So we're at 450 now is what she's
Per
asking.
one, yeah. That's a pretty substantial number. Like, the one thing that is often not included in the qualifying ratios. You know, a lot of young families that are buying homes are buying so because they're having kids, and you know, you add $2,000 a month in daycare costs. You know, none of those people would qualify for a mortgage if that was actually included in the qualifying ratios. So, you know, adding an extra $300 or $400 a month to a mortgage payment plus maybe a line of credit that they've had to use to do some repairs and stuff like that, you know, you're talking about putting people in, you know, a pretty serious situation. And if we see further increase to prime over the next year as well, it makes it even worse, right? So I think the Bank of Canada, the one thing that they did say is that they will continue to monitor the household debt levels. So they have to be cautious on raising rates. I think they'll allow, you know, inflation to creep up before they really aggressively raise rates too fast, because it will be, I think, pretty damaging to the market. There's a lot of people that we all know that are over leveraged that have to go, you know, to their absolute maximum. You know, we pre-approve them and then they call a month later and ask if they can get like 50 or 100 grand more, right? You know, people are stretching themselves. They have been for the last few years. It's just the reality of how the market's been going.
The solution over the last 10 years too, if you did have one of those creeping up lines of credit and too much cost, was what? Refi. Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't really work anymore now either, it sounds like.
And now you can't, you know, your house hasn't gone up by 15%, you
No.
know, so you can't tap into it.
So let's say they go up and then it's 75 basis points. That's where they're gonna go to, and they have just gone up 50. Do you have any sense of how many first-time home buyers that you would have previously qualified, you would not qualify?
I can't.
At that rate?
You have to qualify based on the posted rate, or on the rate that CMHC set, which is like the posted rate is 4.94 as of today anyway. So they're already qualifying based on a higher rate. So anyone that's taking a variable rate, actually anyone that's CMHC less than 20% down has to qualify at that rate.
At a higher rate.
That will eventually go up. I assume we'll probably see an uptick on that number over the next couple of months as well. It was at 4.84 in May, and then in June they increased it to 4.94. But I can see that going higher with the last two increases of prime that we had as well.
So it will take first-time home
Yeah,
buyers out of
absolutely.
the equation.
And one of the other changes that they want to make that's on the table right now, and we'll see, you know, I think this rate increase and what's been happening in the market, you know, will maybe make them second guess the possibility. But right now, a conventional mortgage, so someone that has 20% or more down, they don't have to qualify based on that same stress test that CMHC borrowers do. But it's actually on the table right now that they want to make that part of the qualification, is that anyone that's taking any mortgage, doesn't matter the term, has to qualify based on the posted rate, which right off the bat knocks like 150,000+ off of someone's pre-approval, like right off the top.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty substantial amount.
Yeah, that's gonna make a difference.
Yes.
This is all depressing, but I have 2 points. One is the government meddling is affecting the economy, right? Like real estate is a huge driver in the economy.
The economy's doing pretty good in
But
spite of real estate.
But that's very short term, right? Like we've just started to see the issues
Yeah.
with the real estate market. Are they gonna stop when they see that?
My hope is that before OSFI, the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, those are the ones that have the changes with qualifying at the higher rate for all borrowers on the table. I hope that they take their foot off the gas with pushing that through, because I think that too many changes in the meddling that they're doing that is the biggest risk, if you ask me.
They don't really know how the last changes really are.
Well, that's what I mean.
I know,
Like,
you
it's
know,
such a long
usually
time,
something
so-
takes, 6 months plus to
That's what I'm
actually
thinking,
see
right.
a difference, right? So.
Well, and to Julie's point, I mean, even just the drop in the land transfer tax revenue, right, between
That's
provincial and
what I'm
municipal.
thinking.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this for the last
Think
week,
about
just
what
watching the
the
numbers
city just
drop.
lost, 12,000 deals.
Yeah.
And what the city just lost in land transfer tax.
And the province too.
And the province too. So are they gonna wake up to all this kind of stuff?
I think their goal was to put the brakes on the market, and I think they've done that. I think, whether it was their own doing or how the media picked it up, I think it's having the effect that they wanted. As you said, there's no way that we can, we all agree that there's no way that we can have a 30% increase in 4 months. I think that started to
It's just awful.
get into the dangerous territory. It made everyone, and that's why the
And
media
it
picked it
wasn't
up. There was a lot of
30%
anger,
number of
right?
deals, right? It wasn't 30% more deals, it was 30%
Price.
more in price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the government actually is potentially losing more because of the deal numbers.
I think the anger in the papers, that just basically, like,
So-
what do our kids do? How do our kids buy houses if this is what's happening, right? And I think that's really what, the media ran with. And
It's It's called Oshawa. Look it up.
I was talking with a realtor who works in Durham, and he said he's basically over the last 4 months seen a 20% drop in prices across the board, like nothing is selling anywhere close to where it was before.
The kids will be fine.
Take your investors there, 20% of the time.
Yeah.
Going back to investors, talking about investors, what about with getting involved and you can't raise the rents at a rate that you want because it was built after 1991 or whatever the year was. So that has an impact too for a lot of the investors that currently hold property and potential investors.
Sure.
Like you're talking about,
Doesn't that just the stupidest loophole anyway, though? Like, it
That's
just seemed dumb that these one type of property seemed bizarre to me.
I think the reality is that buying an investment property, other than putting a sizable amount of money down in Toronto, hasn't really made sense for quite a while. Just if you're basing on cash flow, we've obviously had that great appreciation that people have been able to take advantage of, but it wouldn't be my sole reason for purchasing a home.
If ever you've read Gary's book, Hold, it's quite laughable when they talk about like what sort of criteria you probably should be looking for, and then you look at Toronto and you're like, like, now this doesn't exist anywhere. Like, I'm gonna have to go very far. Back to Oshawa.
Hamilton.
Not even Hamilton anymore, isn't that?
Very.
Oh God, no. There is crazy
When you
expensive.
look outside the city of Toronto, also with the quality of tenants that you get, it's just the reality that you're not getting the same caliber of tenants in some of these other areas that you do in Toronto, right?
And the infrastructure is not there for the trains and the traffic and all that kind of stuff. Now, what about the fact that interest rates are really, yes, they're really high compared to
all-time lows.
Yeah, but when I bought my first house, it was 8.25, and
I was
that
at 6.
low, you know what I mean? And people were our parents were at 18%. So
it's a reality. I think that the stress test is not a bad thing, and I think that a lot of mortgage people get pretty greedy and just want to get someone in and out and close them as fast as they can and not really give them that proper advice. And it's difficult to regulate that, but I think it's important to take, especially your first-time buyers that haven't really known anything except for the real estate market over the last 10 years that they've been adults, and take them through some budgeting and look at some what-if scenarios with rates 1, 2, 3, 4% higher, and make sure that it might not be comfortable, but they're still going to be able to afford their payments.
Well, that's how the US got themselves into trouble, right? They sold houses to people who should have never owned houses. They had multiple houses. So I think
we've always
stress
had
test as much as, there's a part of that we don't like.
Well, here's the thing. CMHC is a crown corporation, and it falls on our backs in the event that borrowers start to default. So having a stress test for someone that doesn't have 20% down, to me, I think is a smart thing to do. Yeah. Absolutely. That way, as much as these people may feel the pain when interest rates go up on the variable rate, it's still less than what the stress test rate had to qualify as.
I always find it funny when we go down to Texas to hear Gary talk about, sort of the Canadian versus American market. And the American market is like so exciting to watch, and then he gets to Canada and he's like, ho hum, so boring. And they're doing, seems like they're doing something right.
We've always been more prudent in our underwriting, and I think that's why we've escaped having a major issue like we have in the US.
2008 disaster.
Are you having any sense on when the next interest rates are going to happen?
Potentially October, potentially December.
Bank of Canada.
Yeah. I think the market's priced in like a 60% chance we'll see another increase before the end of the year.
the radio's talking October.
Yeah.
Do you think that's another 25?
Yeah.
It goes up in 25
It'd be too much of a shock to
Yeah.
more than that. But
Camera.
Yeah.
Hi.
They want to see you.
I keep seeing him going further over.
But I think that, you definitely want to make sure that you're advising your clients properly now with respect to not just bidding on a place without checking with their financial advisor or the mortgage broker and going through that type of stuff. As I said, with appraisals coming in light, and, people being stretched to the end of their budget, not just with the amount they qualify for, but the amount of money they have to put down. If you put someone in a situation where you buy a house for $900 and it's worth $800, potentially put you and them in a pretty bad situation. So you just definitely want to make sure you're aligning yourselves with someone that you can make sure that you have in your corner and that's looking out for the client's best interest as well.
So I just have to add to that, I'm sorry. When we talk about sharpening your pencils as agents and conveying your value proposition, just repeat what he just said. Because the fact is that the reason that people need to be working with the people in this room is because you're education based and you want to be able to give this good service to your client. That alone is worth the price of admission.
Jason, do you think that we're still going to see low appraisals heading into the fall and winter?
So far, banks have kind of, unofficially asked appraisers to adjust, values, not, based, on things that were closing in July but were sold in April. They're taking, kind of maybe 5-10% off those numbers.
5-10%.
Right, that.
I think it's going to continue. I had a client that I was, a realtor was calling me about that. Client bought a condo for $750. It was listed for $799. It appraised at $780. So this was with the client's own bank. And the bank told the client that this is BMO, by the way, a big, huge bank. It's not like a small one-off credit union or something. For like $30,000 because they were concerned about the market. And I'm just like, I've never heard of anything like that. It just doesn't make sense. And I was like, it was a higher value that it came in at. And I was like, are you maybe getting misinformation? And they confirmed, no, that was the request that they had.
Wow.
It didn't make sense. There was no rationale with that. But
It doesn't make sense at all.
banks are more, banks with a client with 5% down, it's a safer bet for a bank than a client with 20% down because now they can't get that insurable response, right? So there's a greater risk to them.
But considering that, I think we all had cases where properties sold in February, March, April,
Yeah.
did not appraise in, June, July,
Yeah.
August. Now that we're sort of, we're kind of corrected from the craziness, should we still be concerned if buyers are buying at these prices?
I would definitely do my due diligence, that's for sure, ahead of time, and make sure you're checking, with your mortgage person to make sure the values are going to be there.
How solid an opinion can you get?
So the appraisers that I work with, as I said, are usually pretty bang on. And
Right.
I work with several appraisers, but two of them I work with 99% of the time. And between the two of them, they're on all the lenders' list that we work with. So if they give me a value ahead of time, they're not going to come in less.
But the
than-
final appraisal is still gonna happen
It
before
is.
closing, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But it will be done by them. For my clients, at least I'm advising my clients.
So you don't see that there's really a big issue with a desk appraisal on or before a firm offer and a big differential
no.
Before closing?
The appraiser will tend to be a little bit more conservative on the desk appraisal as well. So
Right.
you can advise your clients, okay, you're thinking about paying $1 million, they're thinking $950 to $975. Just be prepared that you may have to come up with an extra $25,000. And more often than not, the appraiser comes in at the purchase price, but the appraiser will be a little bit more conservative from the start when they're giving us their
Keep in
opinion.
mind, if you have closing 60 days or 90, if you have to.
Here's the thing, don't leave the appraisal, if you think that the value's there and you're unsure of where the market's headed, there's comparables now, ask your mortgage person, make sure you get the appraisal done right away. Don't leave it for 4 months and then order it, right?
So can you ask to have the physical appraisal done?
Yeah, for sure, at any time.
Within the finance condition
You could,
period
yeah.
as opposed to the before closing?
If the appraisal is ordered, like for example on a Monday, usually by Wednesday we can have the appraisal report back. It really comes down to making sure that the seller and the seller's agent can let the appraiser in the house. That's really
So if you have a 5-day finance
Easily.
condition,
5 days
you
easily,
can
for
get
sure.
a firm appraisal
Easily.
inside that and then hope no surprises on closing?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times the appraiser will be refunded back when the client closes. The client will potentially pay the appraisal out of pocket.
Right.
So it's like $300 that they
Right.
Well worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
But
a
peace
big
of
one,
mind for everybody, right?
It's not like finding out that your furnace, maybe needs to be repaired. It's like, $50,000 less that you don't have, right, that you have to come up with.
So unpacking it all, guys, it sounds like we all agree we need to do more to get the same results right now. But the good news is that as we come out the other end unscathed and doing perfectly, we'll have taken territory. So there's a couple things coming to town that I just would like to pump. It's called Bold. It's a very simple plug-and-play solution to this whole problem. If you take Bold, I think you'll be in pretty good shape. However, on the off chance that you don't want to take Bold, or you've already taken Bold a bunch of times and you want to do something different, I was actually talking to Irene on the phone about it, and she committed to doing the Bold 1000 Just kidding. But my team did what's called, have you guys ever heard of the Bold 1000?
That was a power.
This is really interesting. I'm sure you guys have all heard about a Bold 100.
Yeah.
My brother, who's a total maniac, has actually done I think a Bold 260 once. So he's a complete animal. But the reason I'm mentioning the Bold 1000 is it's actually part of the Lance Loken Group's launch process. And what it is you basically do a Bold 100 every single Monday for 4 Mondays in a row, and then for the remaining days of the week, the 4 that are left, you do 40 contacts. So I can tell you that it is incredibly doable. A Bold 100 is no big deal, especially on a power dialer. So the first time we did it with my team, I don't actively prospect for buyers and sellers anymore because it's not my role. But when I did go back to doing a bit of prospecting when we were doing the Bold 1000, because I didn't want to hear any of my sales agents whining about how hard it was. So I still had to continue being, at this time, the listing agent and the sales manager at that time. So I was able to do a Bold 260 by doing 160 contacts on Monday and another 100 on Tuesday, and I was always done just after lunch on Tuesday. So a Bold 1000 is not that hard on a power dialer at all. And we talk about looking for good plums. If you talk to, it ends up working out to about 1,040 people over 4 weeks. That'll give you a pretty good fall. So if you're looking for plug-and-play solutions, I'd recommend either attending Bold or doing a Bold 1000. The thing about Bold 1000 is that you need to do it with someone, so it can be a bit daunting if you're on your own. So get some teams going and make it happen. Could be a good idea for any market center.
Well, you need a power dialer for that. Like, that's not just.
No, you don't really. I mean, Sean did. I mean, I've done lots of Bold 100s just walking around, and I usually would end around 3. I don't know what. I know Sean did like a Bold 200 once walking. So,
Walking at 200?
Well, like knocking, I mean, yeah, for sure you can do it. It's a 12-hour day. It's long.
That's 200 contacts, not 200 doors.
Yeah, 200 contacts. Well, you know what Sean did? I think he at around 8 a.m. he went to a subway station and accosted people as they were going towards the station. Then he knocked the community till 5, and then accosted the people coming home. So it was no problem. Our friend Lou from our office, he did one. He got kicked out of like 4 Home Depots or something. Just get creative, guys. Meet a lot of people. That's it. Let's give him a hand. Really awesome.